Welcome to the Realness Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Rashad King Shrek, with my co-host,
Tony Tone, man. Papadopoulos.
So today we're talking about some pretty interesting stuff. We started talking about psychedelics,
Psychedelics, DMT, mushrooms, and
his
the like.
his trip, where he found it, some of the interesting stuff about it. We talk a little bit about weed, and then there's a little bit of a middle section where me and him turn into two grumpy old men, and we try to figure out what's happening on this next episode of Murder, She Wrote. So hang in there for the new episode.
I'm for real. I'm for real.
Realer than real.
You're now tuned into the Realness Radio Podcast.
I got you stuck off the realness.
Realness.
Y'all feel me? Y'all feel. Y'all definitely feel.
And we're live.
Hello, hello.
Hello, people. Hello, welcome to the show. So you were gonna tell me a cool story about your first time on some hallucinogenics, was it?
Yes, a psychedelic, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, last night I tried DMT for the first time, and it was earlier when we were talking about it. Like, it put me at a loss for words, even just trying to think about like what happened.
Right.
Just because it's very fleeting. Like the whole experience it happens very fast, and then it's gone. So
Really?
So the whole experience was maybe like not even 10 minutes.
Really? So I have very minimal knowledge of, like, I have some knowledge, I listen to some podcasts about it. You hear people like Rogan talk about it and stuff.
Right.
But I don't have a lot of knowledge of it. So is this one of the things that is a fast acting but not long lasting
Right.
trip?
Yeah. So basically, it's just the speed in which your body produces the chemical. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? So the duration is just very short because it's, I guess maybe it's metabolized quicker, if that's the right word. So yeah, it's just like, and your tolerance, I guess. And like I said, this was my first time. I don't know too much about it. From what I understand, though, is like you can do it 2 minutes right after you've come down from it, and still have the same or even a more crazy experience. So, like I said, your body just metabolizes it really fast, and it's opposed to like, comparing it to mushrooms or something like that, where it's like a 4-hour duration. Yeah, like this is, imagine that craziness, chaos of like peaking for 2 hours on mushrooms into about 10 minutes.
Now, myself, I've never took mushrooms. So for lack of a better word, because I don't have a better word to use, is the high similar or is it something different altogether?
So I think in low doses on DMT, they might be similar. And this is just from me at one point during the trip opening my eyes, like kind of towards the end. And I looked at my ceiling, and it was fractals. It was like diamond shapes, like tall diamond shapes. But there was layers, and everything was orange, green, and yellow, and like, but there were layers, and they were moving. So in that sense, the visuals on the come down were very similar to mushrooms, but the peak of DMT is like being, and from what I understand, blasting off completely on DMT sends you into this whole fucking another realm that you experience ego loss. You don't have a body. You're part of everything, your space, your time, your all of it.
Now, when you say ego loss, are you referring to our actual ego?
So what I'm talking about is total disconnection, dissolution. You are not a person, a self, a being.
Okay.
You are present. And I'm not, I can't explain it because you have to experience,
Right.
kind of explain it. And I didn't get that far. And there's a place called like the waiting room that people talk about with DMT. So it's like, you get to, you blast off, like it hits you, but like you get to this area where it's like it's crazy. I'm seeing a bunch of fractals, but it's like a waiting room. And that's all I could experience it as, is like, it felt very like vast and open, like I was in space in like an open universe. And I couldn't even feel my body. I remember putting my hands down and my arms didn't feel as if they were there. Like they were very light, like I had no mass. It was really crazy. But all I could suspect was that was the waiting room, but it felt like a room. It felt like a place. And yeah, it was really crazy because at that point I didn't even realize that like my eyes were just closed.
Right.
And I was seeing visuals, you know?
That's crazy.
And then it got to the point where I just realized, oh yeah, like I'm laying on my bed. I didn't even realize that. And I opened my eyes and everything was just like crazy. It's hard to explain. It's really
so
hard
did
to
you
explain.
have your eyes open for most of the time, or were you just kind of cruising
I
eyes
closed my eyes as soon as I inhaled it, laid back, and about 10 seconds went by, let it out, closed my eyes, and I think the thing that has stuck with me the most is the flavor, the taste that I got of the DMT.
Right.
It was weird. Like I could just feel like my body almost folding in on itself, and it was like there was a noise with it too, and it was like everything was shaking, like very tense. And then I closed my eyes, and then like it was like a slingshot, but like a rocket ship, but like, and it shot me into fucking outer space. And I put some music on that our friend Callie recommended.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Tipper.
Okay.
Good, like hallucinogenic, like vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that music kind of guided my trip. So
That's
like,
awesome.
So the
She would
music,
know.
yeah, the music like basically was so crisp and clear. It was like all around me, and
That's
I was like
perfect.
in a laser show. It was
So
crazy.
you're kind of living the music. You're in it.
Yeah, dude, I was in it. It was crazy.
That's so. Well, this was your first time,
Yeah.
and how much do you take?
It's a very little amount. It's not even a tenth of a gram. It's like a 20th of a gram. So you're talking 0.03 is like what they would say breakthrough dose, and I took like 0.025.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And the breakthrough
but,
dose is to really kind of break through the barrier, not being on like a small micro or therapeutic dose, right?
Yeah, like
You're going.
yeah, you're losing the ego on that one. But yeah, so it was a very bizarre experience, to say the least. But it's something that actually, like, right away, my first instinct was like, I want to do it again, like right now, like let's go back
Really?
in there. Yeah.
That's dope.
But these aren't things that I play with. You know what I'm saying? Like
Often.
lightly, I really respect like psychedelics. a lot,
Right.
You know,
and there has to be
and
some level of reverence
yeah.
taken with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, is this something that you did by yourself, or did you do it with somebody else?
Yeah, so my wife helped me because I probably could have done it, but it was just I didn't know what to expect. Like if I
Yeah.
was gonna like inhale and just be blacked out or something,
Right.
or like what was gonna happen. So I smoked it out of my dab rig and torched it, got the temperature to a level with like a laser thermometer, and then threw it in, and she capped it for me. And then I just got back on my bed, and then I had the whole experience and stuff. And at one point, like I said, I opened my eyes, and she was just kind of in the corner just watching me, just in case, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know what was going to happen.
It's like a
but-
safety net.
yeah, but she was like recording me, so there's a little video of it. Now I'm just like, at first my eyes are just wide open, just like crazy, like staring, and then I'm like, oh, like I start laughing. I'm like, oh my god, like what the fuck, you know?
That's crazy
And
to me.
it was pretty wild to like watch myself, because I was just still, but in my brain it was like,
Things are just happening. Things are
wild.
going on.
yeah, like I didn't even know
Now-
what was going on.
You took a few different psychedelics
Mm-hmm.
before this, correct?
Yeah, for sure. Mushrooms, acid, things like that.
What was
Ecstasy.
what was that like? At least the last time you did mushrooms.
So last time I did mushrooms actually was a great time in the White Mountains. I was out in nature. And
That's dope.
That was actually really fun. Had some really crazy experiences. Like I had an experience that I was explaining it to somebody, and they asked me, they're like, oh, did you have a Kundalini experience? And I was like, a Kundalini experience?
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I don't know what that means. You know?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, and it's like exactly what you just explained to me. And I was like, really? And basically what I explained to them is I was sitting by this like little creek, and the mushrooms were coming on very strong. Like I was really disoriented and out of it, and I was like kind of freaking out a little bit.
Right.
But I was in like a peaceful place and stuff, like by a creek, in
Right.
the mountains, beautiful. We had watched deer like walk down like right next to us. Like,
Daytime or nighttime?
daytime, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. 2-3 in the afternoon, I think. But anyway, like I started feeling crazy, started like meditating right there, just closed my eyes and started breathing. And had this crazy like so you've heard locusts, right?
Yeah,
We've all heard locusts, and we've all heard like rattlesnakes, like that rattle, like that
Yeah, the sound they make. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that crazy.
The chatter
Like
of
it
them.
was more like locusts, but it was like that rattle of the locust, and it was like I just heard it like spiraling, and it was like going up through my spine, dude, this crazy like spiral red vortex of energy. And I felt it through my spine and popped through the top of my head, but like my eyes were closed and I was just visioning this, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I explained, and they're like, yeah, Kundalini. And then I looked it up, and it sounded very similar to it. But
Really?
it's really weird where these things can take you. You know what
So
I'm
is
saying?
the Kundalini, as you said, is that a specific experience that could be had on mushrooms that people experience more often than not? Is that why it's named? And
No,
they
so
ask
actually,
you-
I think Kundalini, the actual experience itself is maybe. And again, I'm not exactly sure on this, but I think it has more or less to do with like Buddhism and like the chakras,
Okay.
and people like experience the Kundalini experience meditating.
So you're hitting a state of mind, essentially.
Right.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So it is weird how it like kind of correlates
Right.
to like a practice that we do to reach certain states.
See, all the experience I really have through any of this or anything close to a psychedelic, because I've done a fair amount of ecstasy and MDMA and that kind of thing.
Yep. Fun drugs.
Oh, fun. You know, big time. Me and my brother used to go out to rave and party, and you know, you do get that. Ecstasy definitely gives you that euphoria feeling, and there
Yes.
is that, you know, we would go to, you know, these big electronic raves and parties, and the music definitely takes you to a whole nother level. And it is kind of interesting because when you were talking about the way that you feel when you're on things like that, like a psychedelic, I remember at one of the concerts we're listening to, and of course this is electronic techno, mostly dubstep, you know, house style music for the layman. And I remember there's this point where they're playing really heavy synth, but like really high, you know, fun notes, but you kind of feel light and airy. You feel like you're almost floating above the crowd. You feel like things are, you're above everything. Things are a little like almost carefree, and you feel like a part of that harmony.
In the same token too, you're like ultra sensitive
Yeah.
to like stuff. Cause I remember being like in a laser light almost, and the light lasers that were like going over the dance floor were touching me, and I was like feeling them.
You feel them.
Yeah,
feel 'em.
you
It's
like-
almost like it's
yeah, you, like,
touching you.
yeah,
You're,
you
everything
notice
is,
that shit, yeah.
I think it's just because you're in your body's such a heightened awareness. You know what I mean? You're super
Yeah.
open to everything. I think that's why it's like, oh, that someone touching you, you're like, oh, that's nice. Like, oh, that's wonderful. You're like, you know, you get that. Vicks is your best friend. You're smelling the shit out of that. You're drinking orange juice. You're just getting a full like serotonin overload, just dropping, and it's just, I think that's the closest that I can, or closest experience that I've had towards psychedelics, because I've been more.
Well, it is. It's psychoactive. It's ecstasy, or pure ecstasy, which is like MDMA is like it's even being used as like treatments, psychedelic treatment for
I
mental
want to do
stuff.
some of that. I'm curious in some of that,
So am
microdosing or the treatment learning
Mm-hmm.
to help with anxiety and what they're doing with people with PTSD and things like that. Or I'm more interested if I saw someone like a shaman
Mm-hmm.
or someone like that who could take me on this spiritual guide.
For
I'd
sure.
feel, I think, more apt to doing it than I have, because I'm like, no, I don't want to just be with some niggas in the woods and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I'm on some shit and I'm freaking out because I don't feel like I have a proper safety net. So I think I've been more hesitative in life to do it overall.
Yeah. Well, I think you're absolutely warranted in that, because it's like these aren't things to be taken lightly. And the
Right.
fact that you'd want like a shamanistic experience, to me, tells me like you want the true experience of what this is for. It's most of these things aren't party drugs, and a lot of people do take them just for
Right.
escapism or anything like that. People will take mushrooms multiple times a week heavily. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't do it too much because your tolerance builds, but like at some point you're just doing it to do it. You
And
know
that's
what
the
I'm
worst
saying?
thing to have, is a tolerance build on mushrooms.
Yeah.
And now you're just
But the thing is
chasing the dragon.
doing it in a shamanistic, ritualistic experience, like trying to gain something from it or learn something from it, which it will give you if you let it. Like that's more intriguing to me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you stole the
that's-
words right out of my mouth. I feel like that's what does intrigue me the most,
Yeah.
is seeing that higher level. You know, there's something that they're doing. There's so many different religions that have gone towards this meditation and different holistic and ritualistic things, whether it's weed or medicinals or other things. There's got to be something to it. And at the least, I want to be able to experience a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And have done it the right way, not
Yes.
just cuz. I've done plenty of my just cuz drugs a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested in seeing what it opens up.
Well, I think everybody should do a psychedelic at least once before they die. Like, just to have that experience, because I think it's you can have very profound like experiences that are
Right.
like, but it's hard to even explain. Like, there's certain times where I felt so much like love on them. It's kind of crazy, and all the other emotions, hate
Right.
and anger and like ecstasy, like all of it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It amplifies it. So like, it's tripping me out because my wife's grandpa, he has diabetes, and he's lost now his left leg up to his knee, and he's lost a couple toes because it gets you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like they
yeah.
started amputating and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he asked me not too long ago. He's asked me about mushrooms, and he's like, yeah, you got some of those? And I was like, yeah, I got some. And I was like, have you ever tried them? And he's like, no, never. And I was like, I think you'd like them, Gil. Like, I was just telling him, I was like, you got to experience it, you at least once.
Yeah,
you
you
know what
gotta
I'm saying?
try
And
it.
he's like, all right, well, bring him over sometime. And he was like, all game. So I keep telling Chris, I'm like, we got to do this. Like, I want to do this for him.
Hook him up. Yeah,
You
hook
know what I'm
him up.
saying? I want to do this for him, So, but I think that's a profound thing. Like it might, so I've read studies where psilocybin helps people with like end of life anxieties.
I've heard a lot about
And
that.
that baffles me a little bit. You'd think it would like increase anxiety, but it doesn't. It actually puts you at ease.
But
and
that's
it
what I was going to
soothes
say.
you.
It seems
Yeah.
to ease people's mind and makes them more comfortable or okay with possibly or their inevitability of
Right.
dying.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think when you were talking about that everybody should try it, once in their life.
Yeah.
My thought is you definitely should try it right before you die.
Mm-hmm.
Or once you start getting old, like, hey, you done put all this work into the world, into the system. I feel like in your 80s, this is time to get fucked up, dog.
Yeah.
This is your opportunity. You know what I'm saying? You done paid this Social Security. You done paid for your raggedy ass kids to go to college and be dickheads. My dickhead ass bosses now. So like, hey, You might as well get fucked up. Take some psilocybin.
Yeah.
Kick it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
Sit by the fire.
Sit
and
by the
fucking
fire. If you want
jam your fucking music until the fucking cops come. You know what I'm saying?
you want to get fucked up and yell at Bill O'Reilly? That's okay. You deserve that. You earn that shit. You work.
Howl at the moon.
Yeah, you work 45 years for this shit.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting that we are now having so much more leeway overall with people doing things like that, where it was such a taboo industry or taboo thing for people to partake in, coming out of probably the 80s, because in the 70s they was all about doing, 60s and 70s they was having a good time. But when we were a kid, you know, all that stuff was like till now you're starting to see people being like, hey man, this is a viable option for tons of things, whether it's recreational to rehabbing the brain,
Right.
or giving you some ease, or helping you ease into the next journey that we call the afterlife.
Right.
So I think it's super interesting. My question is, like, what got you into this? Where'd you start kind of thinking about really like the mushrooms and the whole aspect of...
So like when I was probably in my teens, and I think I tried mushrooms for the first time around 17 or 18, somewhere around there anyway. But like, I think I got into it maybe like a lot of people just got into mushrooms, just trying them. Like, all right, my boy came up on an eighth, and we split it, and we're like, okay, yeah, had a great time, like tripped, saw some visuals. Very intriguing for me. Like, he had a bad time. He ended up throwing up, and like it kind of got real bad for him. Basically poisoned him. Like that's what,
my fear.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, because that's what essentially what you're doing. You're food
Yeah,
poisoning,
you're poisoning yourself.
Yeah. But so it gets you nauseous sometimes, and it got to him a little bit. But I loved it. Like, it was my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as I did it, I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like, got it all into like the psychedelic books, all these tripping books.
Because you have done a lot of reading about this stuff.
Yeah, because there was this book, and it talked about like people going to like the Aztec pyramids or the Mayan pyramids and tripping on top of them at fucking sunset on acid or LSD or whatever. Like,
Could it get better?
yeah, like profound things happening, and that stuff always intrigued me. Like, just that other world, like what's in there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'll get you this. I'll make you a bet now. If before both of us die, if you can get my black ass, crippled ass up Machu Picchu, I'll go up there.
Hell yeah.
and I'll take some DMT.
That's
something
been
short.
a dream. That's
Something
been a
short.
dream of mine, is to go up on a motherfucking pyramid or some sort.
I'll go up to
and
Machu
fucking-
Picchu, and we will find out what's really real.
How about
that
Picacho
day.
Peak?
Hey, see now. See, I think we got to go a little higher than Picacho. You know what I'm saying?
No, we'll go.
Hey, but I'm not gonna lie.
We'll go down to the fucking Mexico pyramids, the fucking Aztec.
I'll see that. Now that's
off
some
the
real
beach and
shit. That's some real
That'd
shit.
be dope.
I'm not gonna lie though. I've always wanted to go to the top of Picacho Peak.
Yeah.
Cause you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't know nobody who's been up there,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. I've always wondered.
Yeah.
And I ain't never got out the car besides at the Dairy Queen at Picacho.
Yeah. Or that one like side that
little
strip
that
with
little
all
strip.
the antique like
where you get all the
like
little
shop
knickknacks
stuff.
and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
you know what
the
I'm
shop
saying?
stuff. Yeah.
Some local Arizona cocoa pellet.
Take a piss and get a Dairy Queen.
Get a
real
DQ
quick.
and you're on your way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I never really been up there. I see some people hike it and shit.
Yeah, there's
I think
like two trails.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's a couple trails up
Yeah.
there, I believe, but I ain't never been up there. I don't know about that shit. That sound like some place a nigga gonna die.
A couple of people have told me about it, but like at one point they have like fucking arm like rails and shit, or like ladders and shit you climb. It's built into the fucking hill and shit.
Hell no.
Yeah, but you can see for a minute on the top.
Hell
of that
no.
motherfucker.
I'm good. I'm good. I can see just fine down
We'll
here.
stick to a fucking Machu or an Aztec temple or something.
Yeah, because if I'm gonna climb,
You'll just get real tired like a quarter of the way up.
hey,
but
that's
it'll be
okay.
cool.
Because if I'm gonna climb or I'm gonna do some shit like that, it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
It can't be no mother. It's got to be Machu Picchu. It got to be a pyramid.
We're gonna have to do the
Egypt.
mushrooms like halfway up just in case.
you know I'm gonna get jelly legs halfway up, and then I'm over here trying to walk up a pyramid with steps
Oh my God, that would be
2 feet tall, and I got baby giraffe legs. And now my big ass is trying to hold on to your back. You know, slip me over like a backpack, and I can lock my arms. Hold me.
Oh shit.
I do think it's interesting because I just never really went on that side of the things. You know, I've done a lot of other party drugs. I'm that guy.
I'm no stranger. I'm no stranger.
You know what I'm saying? Or something. But I've never got on that. And now that I'm a little older, I start to definitely get interested. But I start to be more interested when it's like those things, like we were just talking about, wanting to see the pyramids or wanting to see something gorgeous and natural. You know, if you were like, hey man, we're gonna go do this DMT, but we're gonna go do it in
Nature
the
or
redwood
something, or-
forest.
yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, what? One,
Exactly.
I've never been there. Those trees are huge. This is like, you know, it's like the perfect scenery to do that kind of thing. And, you know, we're gonna go out to this perfect crest in Sedona, right? Maybe not right on the edge of the Grand Canyon, but like where you can see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't want to have a heart attack thinking I'm finna fall. But, you know, it's more of those experiences that I think make me. But we also come, because, you know, we're 80s babies. We come from a generation where I like that thought of yesteryear and that communing with nature and getting back to things. And, you know, we've moved so far forward that it's that kind of great old dream of going out camping.
Yeah.
And you're in the middle of nowhere and bumfuck, and that's when you do it. You got to do the woods. You know, it also sounds like the beginning of a scary movie, but without the second part, just the first.
Well, I think I know what you're saying as far as like the feeling that I get when you say that is I feel a little bit old school and also like progressive as the way the kind of world's going,
Right.
but like where our generation is part of like a dying breed, I want to say.
I would agree.
You
I
know
would
what I'm
agree.
saying? And I think that it's kind of that aspect of what you're talking about is kind of lost on us a little bit.
Well, you know, it brings us into the idea that our generation is kind of the last of the generation that was born pre-big tech. You know what I mean? So we had technology, but we didn't have the ability to like we're podcasting right now out of my living room, you know, and we're just talking. We didn't have that ability. We didn't have cell phones. You know, if you were going to come over and we were going to go outside and play, you had to come over and knock on the door.
Yeah.
We definitely come from that generation where we had, you know, there was no seatbelts in the beginning of them cars, so your mama, your daddy, or your grandma, in my case, would put their hand over you when you stop, and that was the seatbelt is your grandma's
My mom
hand.
still does that shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, I'm good.
You're like, I'm good. I'm grown. I'm grown. I'm the one driving. You know, we come from that generation, so I think for us that does kind of harken back to an old time. And a lot of the film and television that we grew up with was geared towards that age because the technology wasn't there. So it's a lot of movies of people in nature, doing stuff in nature, those old. One of my favorite things is to idealize the idea of going on the road and like a family road trip. Like I saw some dude
real.
gassing up his RV today, and I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome!"
Yeah.
You know, he's got his car on the back. He's got
that
his
same
RV.
feeling every time.
He's like an older
Towing a
dude.
Jeep or some
Yeah,
shit.
he was towing the Jeep, dude.
Yeah.
And he had his nice, one of the nicer ones. You know what I mean? Older white guy. Had to be like in his 70s, but I'm like, dude, you and your wife, you and Gladys, get it. Because we come from that generation where it was like, throw your kids in all the car and we're going to Florida.
Yeah.
And it's like a road trip. And it's like, back then we didn't have all the players and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So like you was listening to the radio station
radio.
from town to town. Whatever radio station you can get that had good music on it.
Or some
If
tapes.
not, it was tapes.
Yeah,
You know
get
what I
some
mean?
tapes, yeah.
If you was lucky, you had a CD. So I think that idea of that harkening back to the old school and getting back to when things were simpler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kind of have that feeling when I think about how psychedelics are supposed to go. You know, bringing it back to that. You know,
Right.
So I think we are
That's
on
a
that
new
cusp
wave
of a generation that misses that you knew but old school where it was a little bit different. Whereas kids now, you get the internet's always been there,
Right.
so there's not much reason to go out in the middle of the forest and for what?
Yeah. Or just leave your video game like fucking
Yeah,
computer. You know what I'm saying? Like get stuck on that.
yeah. Leave your technology behind and let's go get fucked up in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't get.
Go around and get hurt, break your arm or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
You know?
That's the way to do it. Bump on some shit, scuff your knee up.
Well, it's weird because I know it's even affecting me. Like COVID is affecting that in me. Whereas like my kid called me the other day and he was like, hey, Dad, my friends are outside. They all met up. Can I go to the park with them? You know, in my mind, I'm like, all your friends from school met up? Like, I guess maybe they live around here. I don't know. But I guess a parent might have been chaperone. But in my head, initially, that's my thoughts are going to this and I'm getting nervous. And I was like, you know what? Stop all that. Like, boy, yes, go play. You have a phone. Don't go to nobody's house. Go to the park and call me in 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But like I had to go, you know, I got to let him go play.
Gotta let him go.
Dude, they gotta go. That socializing is important. They need all that. You know what I'm saying? And they need to know how to act around other people and be like, all right, I'm going to this house. Like, no, my daddy said no.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I
saying?
can't
Like,
go to
I
that
can't go
house.
to that house.
That kind of reminds me. Today I was at my mom's, as you know. I was helping her get some stuff over to the dump, and I'm loading it up, and a little boy's walking down the street. What I would assume is his little brother.
Yeah.
Too cute. They had to be like, I don't know, 10 and 7 or something.
Yeah.
And we're putting old cabinets from the kitchen. You know, she got new cabinets. So we're putting the old broken ones into the back of my truck. And he says, hey, what you guys doing with that wood?
Yeah.
And I was like, we're tossing it in the trash. And he's like, can I have some?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
You building a fort or something?
yeah. I'm like, yeah, kid,
Yeah.
what you want to do with it? And he's like, well, I like painting stuff. And I like painting stuff on the wood. And his little brother's like, and I like shooting it with my bow and arrow. And I was like,
Hell yeah.
hell yeah, kid. Hell yeah. And then so I told him, I was like, look, you can go ask your mom. If she says it's okay for you to have a piece, I'll let you have a piece, excuse me.
Yeah.
And he runs back home and he comes back up the street, kind of got his head low. And I already know the answer. Because, no, boy, you ain't bringing that old-ass piece of wood up in my house. What we going to do with no piece of wood? You ain't going to do shit with it anyway. But I was like, hey, buddy, maybe next time. But it was awesome to see that he wanted a piece of, like, random wood so that he can do art on his
build
little
some shit.
brothers.
Yeah.
Shooting shit, and they're doing stuff. And earlier they were riding their bikes, and they're one of the few kids that are still left in that neighborhood that are doing stuff like that. And I think it was pretty awesome. It was nice. It was kind of such a sweet kid, and it was kind of refreshing to see kids out there doing something and not like just being like locked on his phone or not wanting to do shit. Like build a fort, paint some shit.
Throw rocks at each other.
Throw rocks at each other. Get with your little brother and shoot
Steal
arrows
some alcohol
at this shit.
from grown-ups or something.
Yeah,
you know?
go get a hammer and we used to their age go get a hammer and we'd build a fort. At first that's what I thought he was gonna be like. We're gonna build a fort, and I was be like, not with this wood, kid. This shit my age. You ain't using this wood, okay? And then I'm like, all right, now I got to find a little piece to try to get this little nigga because I don't want to get no nails on it. So I was telling my cousin because he was there while I'm doing it. And I was like, yeah, I must definitely send him home to ask his mama. Yeah. Because I ain't going to have y'all coming back up here being like, my son got cut on your blah, blah. No.
Yeah, that was a smart move.
Yeah, I was like.
Honestly, I would have been like, yeah, kid, here, take all this shit, man.
And it like.
Fucking tear it up, bro.
Because me too. Part of me's like, yeah, I want to do that. But I was like, you know what? What would a responsible older adult told me at the time if I would have said the same thing, and the right thing would be do is go talk to your mama.
Yeah.
Make sure your mom knows you're over here talking to adults and that you're asking for something and if that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I would have been happy to oblige. She can see us from out the door from where I'm at, but I'm not. I'm black, nigga. We ain't gonna have that happening around here. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna make sure all of this is up to code.
Oh yeah, for
Everybody got their P's and Q's on point. Like not around here. But it was kind of cool to see a little kid just out there being a little kid and not stuck to the 2020 vibe. And I'm sure they were like a little stir crazy and just happened to see other humans because 2020 they're locked in the house, and I'm not sure all the kids are out there playing like they used to.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool, man.
In my neighborhood, actually, it's refreshing to see too. I have a neighborhood of pretty active kids. Like you see them mobbing down the street and shit, and quads, and fucking skateboarding and stuff. So I think my neighborhood's a little more, I guess, open to that. The East Side's weird though, as you know. It's
Right.
a lot different than other places. It's just it's like an older Tucson. It feels like older Tucson to me. Feels like 90s Tucson to me.
East Side is its own thing.
Yeah, but I love it.
that's
I
for
love
sure.
the East Side. It's it's grown on me for sure. I never wanted to live on the East Side. I never was like, I'm never buying a house in the East Side, and that's exactly where I ended up. It's
For the
hilarious.
listeners who are listening into this podcast, I'm making the face.
The face. He
'Cause
don't like
that's-
the East Side.
I lived on the East Side, not that. It's different.
Yeah, it's got its charm to it.
It's got its charm. I think it's pretty cool if you're in a good neighborhood and you have kids. So if they can have some playmates and stuff. That was what was really important for my childhood, is that we had a lot of kids in the neighborhood, so we all got to hang out, and
Exactly.
play with each other, and do stuff, and like, so you kind of definitely want to have a neighborhood that's like that. But y'all over there by Lakeside, right?
Lakeside. I don't necessarily know where Lakeside is.
That's that East Side Park with all the dead bodies in it.
Shit, with the lake. I know. I think I know which one, but I'm not that far east. I don't think.
Okay.
I'm on like Colbin. Yeah, Golf Links area. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You over there by the dispensary.
By
close.
D2. I'm like right by D2.
Get that weed, y'all.
Get
Y'all
that
know what
weed.
team. Y'all know what time
That
it
rec
is.
weed. Go wait your 2 hours
Go wait your 4.5 hours
and pay your
that weed.
30% tax
Get that weed, nigga.
and get that weed. Get them mids.
Everybody gonna be smoking. We out here. We out here.
We out here waiting in these lines.
We out here waiting in these lines for this weed. We out here. Man, well,
Cookies just dropped, man.
this cookies just dropped. I heard it was crazy, man.
Gotta get the I gotta get the sling bag, with the.
Okay, before we end this podcast, I'm gonna go off on this. So this podcast that we're doing here we're from Tucson, Arizona. So we are in the situation where Arizona has just went recreational.
Just passed.
And we are now having the big boom of legal weed.
The green rush.
The green rush
In
if you will.
Arizona. Yeah.
And it is pretty crazy. Some of you might know this, some of you might not. We both work in the industry doing different things. And you've definitely seen a lot of people super like, hey man, are you guys open yet? Are you selling weed? Can I
Every
get some
day,
weed? Do
100
you have
people.
weed right now on you? Can I buy some weed in your
Yeah.
pocket? Yeah, it's crazy. And I can't imagine what we're gonna be looking at when it really booms, because we've seen like a little bit of it, but I'm not seeing the pop that we know is gonna happen. So I'm curious to kind of see how Arizona is really gonna handle this. Are we just gonna, because we're the Wild West, so are we just gonna go crazy with this shit? Is it just gonna be like shoot your pistols in the air,
Right.
weed everywhere? People gonna go crazy.
Dude, again, the times we're living in, like, yeah, if this was
Right, I didn't even think
pre-COVID,
about
we
that.
would be having like 420 fucking festivals in the streets.
I didn't even
now.
think about that. You're
You know
right.
what I'm saying? Like we would, like that's what Colorado did. They fucking all chiefed like
You're
in
right.
the fucking in the park or some shit.
I
you know
didn't
what
think
I'm saying?
about that. We would, because we are living in a COVID year, we would have had a much
It would have been more
different
lively. It would be way different.
celebration. We would have had a much
'Cause
crazier.
This is a weed town, dog. Like,
Yeah.
this is like,
Well, Tucson's a super liberal town,
Super liberal.
and now a blue state,
Mm-hmm.
but what was a red state. We were kind of the little blue dot in there. So that's kind of crazy
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't really think about. Yeah, we would have 420 parties. We would have these big block parties, lots
parties
of
for
stuff. People doing all kinds of craziness,
Mm-hmm.
smoking in front of cops like they were doing.
there's
in
gonna be like
Colorado.
weed fests and shit eventually. I think, but I don't know.
I mean, don't steal my idea out there. But I feel like this would be a good time to have a weed convention, you know what I mean? And an Arizona-based weed convention and something that we
And
just
fuck it, do it outdoors and
do it
everyone feels
outdoors,
a little more,
celebrate it.
you know, you're smoking anyway. you know what I'm saying?
smoke that shit fat, you know what I mean? Have a good time, California it up. I think that's what's going to be cool is we are going to get that chance now to be a little more liberal with it, and we get a lot of people coming from out of state in Tucson. So people gonna be all up in here smoking this weed. It's gonna be pretty crazy.
My thoughts have been kind of like, are we going to experience a shortage like the other states did?
I wonder.
You know what I'm saying? And we are seeing a little bit of a shortage on certain products. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But it hasn't necessarily been flour. We've been low on flour, but
Yeah.
the flour, we're still getting it. You know what
We
I'm saying?
get-
It's still there. So it's like, hasn't been, I don't think it's been a huge thing.
Well, what I think is crazy is, we are low on a little bit low on flour, but we're definitely not at the place where, what was it? I think it was like Colorado, where they were like the whole state's out of weed.
Yeah.
Like everyone is out. Like
Re-upping in 2 months.
yeah, like everybody's out. So I don't think that we'll get to that point, but I think that's only because of COVID.
Yeah.
I really think that that's because of
Holding
COVID,
numbers back.
because holding those numbers back.
People
Because
that just don't even want to come out of their house.
right,
to get
or
bud.
scared to come out of their house, or that kind of thing, where
Mm-hmm.
we would have old ladies in wheelchairs sitting outside, with their weed garb on and their necklaces and just
Mm-hmm. Right.
ready to smoke.
Yeah.
And like, could we smoke in the parking lot? Like now? So I think because of COVID, we do have a kind of a more relaxed response than I think we were initially expecting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But-
who would have fucking guessed, you know?
I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next couple weeks here, our dispensary that we both work for will be going rec. So
Yeah.
we'll be able to kind of talk on the podcast, and we'll revisit this conversation about what it's like. After
Dealing with the madness.
after shit
The
hits-
reefer madness.
and reefer madness
Yeah,
after
dude.
shit officially hits the fan.
Yeah.
So we're gonna close out this episode today of the Realness Podcast.
I wear a sling bag, by the way. I make fun of him because I do it.
He does. He really does have a sling bag.
It's a man bag. It's a
green.
merce.
It's green, and he's wearing it. Well, thank you for tuning in. We're gonna try to, like I said, get these bad boys out every Sunday. We'll be having numerous conversations about a whole bunch of different stuff. If you want to check us out on social medias, go to Instagram. We are at the Realness Radio Podcast, as well as on Facebook. If you want to check me out personally, you can go to Instagram at Superior Shrek.
And you can find me at prolific_pappy.
That's because he's a pappy
Papadopoulos.
of proliferation.
Proliferate.
Proliferation. Yeah. All right then. Bye, y'all.